Hello folks, Reverend Crystal Cox here, and I'm going to talk to you about a July 10th, 2019 article in the Michael Allman case. As we've discussed, if you're familiar with the case, if not, check the description for links to, well, more on the case. I'm just going to assume that if you're here, you're familiar with it. And yes, that's my head in the background there. So in May of 2019, there was a really bad accident, and a whole bunch of people accused Michael of dragging his dog, and they created a lynch mob based on hearsay, and they have been after him for 2 years trying to get the dog away from him. They, I allege, have conspired to steal his property and to cause him harm and mental torment, and they just stalk him and track him down and try to get the dog. They let the dog out of the car many times, and then someone let it off the lead, and then the Port Townsend police were called. By the very next morning, before even noon, as you see in the thread on this post, a woman named Michelle Sanchez got information from the Humane Society, of which they denied the owner, and they gave confidential information to this woman and several other parties, as you'll see at michaelandmoses.blogspot.com. You can see that the Humane Society, all these parties, Center Valley Animal Rescue, gave private information to the public. Even though the article we're going to read, they claim that they're not allowed to do that by law. And this article also talks about statutes. Did those statutes change? So we're going to look at a whole bunch of this. If you have any questions, email me at reverendcrystalcox@gmail.com. All right, let's take a look at this article. And yes, there is a child crying in the apartment upstairs. It's nothing to do with me, if you can hear that. He seems to be a little bit upset about something. Okay, so the picture, there'll be, I'm not going to link to the article, but I have it linked on michaelandmoses.blogspot.com. I'm not going to show the picture of the dog. It's pretty severe. Moses was injured out of a moving vehicle. If you've seen my video, these things happen. I've seen it happen several times in my life. He did not abuse or neglect the dog. They say the dog was underweight. They say vet said this and vet said that. But it's pretty clear to me that the dog had an accident. The owner was down on his luck, and they had to give the dog back to the Humane Society by law, and then Michael got the dog back. And so they've been really upset about this for a couple of years, and they've been trying to get the dog. And they've been stalking him and harassing him. They would let the dog out at Safeway, trying to so that they could try to get the dog picked up, so they could follow through with this lien that Adam Karp helped them to plot. An attorney, animal attorney named Adam Karp. You can see the premeditated intent on my blog that they discussed it over a year, and they kept trying to let the dog go several times at Safeway. This is quite the saga, and there's so many moving parts to it. And they tried to make it look like the name of this article is like, did they fail the dog? It's never about did they fail the owner. A homeless man who needed the dog for emotional support, safety, warmth, and was his alpha. They were the best of friends. Yeah, they were both down on their luck, but that doesn't mean that he was criminally abusing and neglecting Moses. All right, so let's check out this article from July 2019. Here the dog is pictured in May after receiving treatment at Center Valley Animal Rescue for 3 weeks, shortly before he was transported by Jefferson County Sheriff deputies to the Humane Society. Sarah Penhaligon, Center Valley's director, said when this photo was taken, the dog had already gained 20 pounds. So said means hearsay. And she was doing significantly better. Hearsay, significantly is not actually a legal term or a medical term. Better than when we found him. Well, yeah, he was half dead and hurt and injured out of a car. Okay, so we're just going to read some of this. The story of a wolf hybrid dog was apparently dragged behind a car. Okay, apparently, I think that's hearsay, right? may lead to a new county policy. Did it? Surrounding the care and transport of stray and injured animals. Did this code change? We're going to look into that later. But if the code didn't change, then how come Center Valley Animal Rescue has the dog now? Okay, it says Moses, a wolf hybrid who captured the attention of hundreds of Jefferson County residents on Facebook, which I call Jefferson County lynch mob. Okay? They were not doing a good thing. Okay? It was hearsay. They ganged up on the guy. He answered every single thing they said and provided statements to the police. All of his stuff was squashed, including by the Port Townsend community page in the recent event. They're using hearsay evidence from this past event right now to prejudice this defendant in a legal case for criminal charges of criminal abuse and neglect. He wasn't convicted before, but they're using it against him in this case. I don't know if the past case is still open. Okay, this article suggests it might be still open. This is kind of the first I heard of that. So I was under the impression that the past case was solved and there was no criminal neglect or abuse found. So is it still open or is it closed? We'll look into that. Okay, it was captured the attention of hundreds of Jefferson County residents on Facebook. Was found starving. Was he? You got factual evidence of that? Or was he just seriously injured? Okay, on April 20th in Chimacum, with severe wounds all over his body. Yes, he'd had an accident. Okay, having been accidentally leashed to a moving vehicle. He was not leashed to a moving vehicle. He fell out. Okay? Defamation? Yeah, who cares, right? He was transported to Center Valley Animal Rescue for emergency treatment by a Jefferson County deputy. And then 3 weeks later was transferred to the Jefferson County Humane Society against the wishes of his attending veterinarians, who have no rights. They didn't get the say. Days later, he was released to his owner, even though animal cruelty charges were being pursued by the sheriff's office. See, so they're getting revenge for this past case on this animal at large now, and I have now had a chance to look at the property myself. I don't believe that he escaped. I really do believe what Michael said in the interview and in his testimony in court, that someone unclipped the dog. And I'm not convinced that he would have went to the dog park. The location of the house isn't where I thought it was. I don't know for sure that the dog would have went that direction. I think that someone sent him that direction. And I don't believe that I have to look into this, but I don't know that the house is actually in city limits full on. So there's a lot more to this, but the fact that some of these parties knew the next morning is mighty suspicious. Okay, tried to get the owner's, okay, the leader's chosen to protect the owner's identity because no criminal charges have been filed. Well, the Center Valley Animal Rescue chose not to protect the owner. The Jefferson County Humane Society gave the information, the private confidential information of this owner to private parties, would not give to the owner. And as you see in the thread, they wanted to say the dog died. They wanted to neuter the dog. They want to get the dog out of the county. They want to get it away from him forever. With no charges filed, right? Lynch mob. County Code 6.07.030 and 6.07.170 say an impounded domesticated animal must be brought to a shelter designated by the county. And if it is injured or diseased, it must be provided for with reasonable veterinarian care. I think there's a legal case lawsuit there, big time. The reason I allege this is because the county did not have a right to take it to somewhere that was not licensed to take care of the dog the first time. But they did. Did they have no liability because Michael was homeless and he has no rights? Or because hundreds of residents ganged up on him with the false narrative and hearsay? Okay? Okay, so if it is injured or diseased, it must be provided for with reasonable veterinary treatment. Jefferson County Humane Society is the only animal welfare agency that has a contract with the county. Okay? Paul Becker, president of the Jefferson County Humane Society, says, this also means the deputy erred. Hear that, folks? The deputy erred. No liability to any of these folks, and they've nearly destroyed this man and his family. They still have this dog 4 months later, and not from this incident. This is the past incident of which no charges were filed, and he's being prejudiced, in my opinion. Okay. Paul Becker, president of the Jefferson County Humane Society, says this also means the deputy erred when he brought the dog to Center Valley Animal Rescue because it is not a licensed veterinarian hospital. Do they have any liability? Now they have an $11,000 lien against Michael. I think Michael should have like millions of dollars of liens against all of them. Okay, the deputy erred, the county erred, everybody erred. Michael has a really good lawsuit here, in my opinion. I've been fighting corruption for 20 years. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure there's all the evidence for this. So if anybody wants to represent Michael, email me at reverendcrystalcox@gmail.com. I intend to file criminal complaints as a concerned citizen and bar complaints and complaints with all kinds of agencies. Yeah, I get it. A dog's hurt. You want to help it. But you don't need to destroy his owner, especially just based on hearsay. No facts. Okay. Erred when he brought the dog to Center Valley Animal Rescue because it is not a licensed veterinarian hospital, and he believes it does not meet the county standard for reasonable veterinarian treatment. Yet, when he was let off his lead, or got off his lead, whatever you believe, okay, he was picked up and taken to the Jefferson County Humane Society, of which he was moved by noon the next day or something. It seems like it. I mean, that's what the thread says. Private parties. These women called the shelter, and they got to know where the dog was. 4 months into it, Michael don't get it. He don't get to know. He knows now. Confidentiality agreements broke? You betcha. I allege, because I got a brain and I can read. Okay. Not a licensed veterinarian hospital, but they took it there. No liability? That's because he's homeless and has no voice. Well, he does now. Center Valley has licensed veterinarians on its volunteer staff, but it is not licensed as a veterinarian hospital. Sarah, Center Valley Animal Rescue Director, holds a veterinarian technician license. Is she qualified to deal with wolf hybrids? Is she qualified for what? All of this? Are these folks liable? Do they have insurance? Do they have E&O insurance? Do they have malpractice insurance like Adam Karp, these attorneys involved? These private parties, they think they have no liability at all to this man in helping to steal his property that has value? Even if the dog wasn't an emotional support, it has value. It has breeding rights. It has consumer protection laws. You guys are all in trouble, okay? And the fact that you would do this to a homeless person and try to drive him to like suicide and darkness and all this evil because you think you're right is sick. Okay. So she holds a veterinary technician license. Washington State Health Department records confirm the facility operates with a limited veterinarian service animal control agency license. This license allows animal welfare nonprofits to provide spay, neuter, and microchip services and perform vaccinations on pets. I just studied a bunch about wolf hybrids and vaccinations. They probably should not have done that. We're going to look into that too. Okay, it also allows them to provide full care to sheltered animals and animals in need of emergency care. That's what they claim. But if it's not a licensed hospital, how's that true? Okay, so Sarah disagrees with Becker, saying the nonprofit was acting within its capacity and the facility should be considered adequate veterinarian care in emergency situations, as was the case with Moses. Okay, they called Rhodey. How did they know it was Moses? That time they knew it was the owners, right? Even though another local veterinarian was open at the time the dog was found, Sarah said no one else in Jefferson County could have provided the around-the-care that the dog needed. Who is she to say this, and why does she get to have more rights than the owner? Jefferson County Sheriff Joe Noel said, in addition to considering what was best for the animal, another factor in the decision to take the dog to Center Valley was the cost to the county. Well, it's going to cost, this is just me speaking, not the article here, but it's going to cost the county a lot more now, right? because they've had a whole bunch of missteps, and at some point there will be a legal case. Because this sets a precedence that they can do this to any homeless person, anyone that they gang up on. Because why? Because there's hundreds of people lying. Yeah, I've dealt with this. I have like thousands of blogs. I've been an anti-corruption blogger for decades. I've seen sometimes thousands of people. And now you see with politics and stuff, millions of people that have the wrong story on something. Okay, it doesn't mean because there's hundreds of them that they're right. That's called like a mob mentality, lynch mob. Okay, so the cost to the county taxpayer is lower than that of a veterinarian hospital. Okay, so who paid for the bill last time? The taxpayers? Who paid for his care last time? Because they say in their thread that they're willing to pay for it then and ongoing, even though now they've got like over an $11,000 lien in March of 2021. Okay, so prompted by Becker, a discussion between County Administrator Philip Morley and Undersheriff Andy Persteiner caused the Sheriff's Office to transfer Moses to the Humane Society, where it was released to the owner days later. Folks, I don't know about you, but this accident sure seems a lot worse than... So they think they screwed up, and they think they did wrong by the animal. So they've been trying to get Moses since then, and now they have. So, but under the current case, he was an animal at large that had ear mites and a skin thing because he was eating food that he had allergies to, and people were feeding him. I saw people feed him at Safeway. They think, oh, someone's homeless, the dog's starving, and they feed it. Okay, and the dog cannot have food just from random people. So the people, the lynch mob did not have the facts here. Okay, so they released it to the owner. Noel said because of this situation and the department's desire to continue to work with Center Valley Animal Rescue, he is considering options to legitimize the organization's relationship with the county. Did he? Possibly through a revision to the county code. Did they revise the county code? Becker said after the dog was brought to the Humane Society, it was taken to a licensed veterinarian for evaluation. He said this vet did not make any assertions to whether the dog showed clear signs of abuse, as Center Valley had. But Becker also said that no one asked. All right. So it wasn't the priority of the county, the Humane Society, to even ask a vet at that time if the animal was abused. It's pretty much logic, right? Animal had an accident. But clearly Center Valley was so hurt, and I get it. It's sad to see what happened to that dog. But to assume that the owner's evil is a misstep on all parties. And I say that they are liable. Yes, financially, huge. But this man's mental torment and anguish of him and his children, of which I can prove over months. And also, well, there's going to be a lot of things proven. Let's just leave that at that. Okay, so Becker said after the dog was brought to the Humane Society, okay, that right, so they didn't, no one asked. Becker said they would not release the name of the veterinarian who saw the dog because they do not release medical information without the owner's permission. That's like the joke of the day, right? So we can't know the vet, but we know everyone else, right? Because these hundreds of people on this Facebook page, these upstanding, prominent people, citizens, they were given information, right? And you can see at michaelandmoses.blogspot.com several screenshots of where they said they called the shelter, the Pound, the Humane Society, and was given information on Moses. Private information. And the owner was not. They all knew the owner, okay? They've had his property for 4 months, and they planned to steal it with intent, as proven in my 6-part video and the PDF of the thread on Center Valley Animal Rescue. They even threatened to drag Michael behind a car, and Center Valley Animal Rescue leaves that up, but deleted all of his side of the story. It's beyond sick, folks. Beyond sick. Okay. Becker said they would not release the name of the veterinarian who saw the dog because they do not release medical information without the owner's permission. Sarah said she was told this veterinarian also submitted a report to the sheriff's office. Okay, do we have a copy of that? We will. we're going to get all this information. The dog was released to its owner, Becker said, because the law requires organizations to contact the owner as soon as possible. So this is July 2019. Fast forward to November 23rd, 2020. Now, apparently, the law no longer applies. The organizations have to contact the owner as soon as possible. Okay? The police knew where the dog was. The Center Valley Animal Rescue knew. The clattering women of Port Townsend and all the lynch mob on that post knew. The Humane Society knew. And who else knew, right? They didn't let the owner know. And they knew who the owner was, right? I mean, they've known for years. They've been stalking and harassing, and literally stalking, folks. Like, they would drive around him and circle him and just taunt him, all because of all these people. This man and his children's lives endangered by all of them. The lynch mob. Okay, when Noel called the Humane Society to ask them to hold the dog, he was told it had just gone back to the owner hours earlier. From there, Noel said the veterinarian reports from Center Valley, along with witness statements and other evidence, was forwarded to the prosecutor. No one actually witnessed the incident, right? The actual accident, as far as I know. Since then, nothing's happened. Prosecuting attorney James Kennedy said that while the case is still under investigation by the county, it's taken a back burner. Okay, so they had other things. Hadn't decided. He hopes to have made a determination of whether or not to pursue charges of animal cruelty by the end of July. So it seems like they didn't follow to pursue charges of animal cruelty. So now we have Deputy Prosecutor Melissa Pleimann, right? And they are pursuing charges of animal cruelty. Okay, not for this incident because there was none, right? But they've used a past allegation to prejudice a defendant in a criminal case, in a current case, where the animal was at large. Okay, and where the holds was all the law applied this time? They don't seem to even keep it at the shelter for 24 hours. We have proof that the owner contacted the shelter. They didn't tell him where his property was, but they told all these other people. It would be interesting when there's an attorney out there that has the balls to sue all these people. But nonetheless, we'll keep reporting on it. We'll expose every angle, and I will be filing complaints everywhere I can because it's clear to me what happened. And I don't care if you're some prominent person or some do-gooder or you think you're all that. You own a house or you own a newspaper or you know, some sort of a journalist, as they say, or whatever you think you are. You don't know. You ganged up on this man, and I'm going to paint that picture pretty clear. Okay, and then in Washington State, animal cruelty in the first degree is a felony. Okay? So he's up for felony charges now for an animal at large because they're trying to get him for some past event. It's kind of a classic mess up here by all parties. One challenge, he said, is that economic factors are an affirmative defense against animal cruelty in the second degree. This means that if an animal is not being adequately provided for because its owner does not have the financial means to it, it cannot result in criminal charges, and the animal remains in their care. In this case, Noel confirmed the owner's homeless. What changed, folks? What changed? Is this still true? How can that be? I mean, the judge ruled that he had to have 3 bags of food and prepay the vet and all that. So is this a law? Let's read that again. This was the prosecutor before, right? I think the county prosecutor Kennedy at that time said they have yet to determine which of this case would fall into if they determine that a crime has occurred at all. One challenge, he said, is that economic factors are an affirmative defense against animal cruelty in the second degree. That means that if an animal is not being adequately provided for because the owner does not have the financial means, it cannot result in criminal charges and the animal remains in their care. They've had Moses for 4 months. Michael was homeless. Does this not apply now? No affirmative defense now? And if it cannot result in criminal charges, then how come we're going through all these hoops for criminal charges? How come they're still holding the dog as evidence for criminal charges? Of course, Deputy Prosecutor Melissa Pleimann told the judge, we're not holding the dog as evidence. And the judge said, yeah, you are. That's what you're doing. So, there is a lot going on here, folks. My email is reverendcrystalcox@gmail.com if you have any questions or any tips. And look in the description for links to more information. And God has blessed you all.